And today we'll be learning a bit about machine learning, though you already had some lectures around machine learning, what exactly is and how is it related to artificial intelligence. But still, being a new day, we will learn some new things. Whatever we have learned, we will add to its knowledge. And let's move further. So everyone knows that what exactly artificial intelligence is. So first we will talk a little bit about what exactly artificial intelligence is and how machine learning is related to it. Okay. So quite simple, as we know that machine learning or artificial intelligence is a way, or rather it's a logic rather than its actual representation or its implementation. For example, if you're talking about artificial intelligence, so it's a logic that says that any machine is able to make its decision on its own without any human intervention will be termed as artificial intelligence. Means it is able to make decisions without any person helping that particular computer. That okay, suppose you are standing in between something and you want to go left or right. Okay, so in that case you will be deciding, you will not be deciding, the computer will itself be deciding whether what it should go left or it should go right. So that is the basic implementation of your artificial. So that is what your artificial intelligence is all about. Now, artificial intelligence in itself, again, I'm saying it's a logic. It's not implementable. Rather, it needs some tools to be get implemented. For example, you heard about self-driving cars. You've heard about Google Maps. You heard about some predictions that are taking place all around you. For example, weather forecast and other things. All are under AI umbrella. But how is it able to do all those things if it's just a logic? So in that case comes your machine learning. So what exactly machine learning is? Machine learning is a tool that helps you in achieving artificial intelligence. So machine learning, as the name implies, that means machine is learning. Now, machine can learn in very different ways. For example, you can write an algorithm based on which the machine is performing some task. But that learning will not be a learning in itself. It should be a series of tasks. For example, you're making a C program or a Java program in which there are a series of instructions and machine is just running it. In that case, machine is just running the instruction rather than learning something. So that is the most primitive type of learning that machine learning does. But as the computer involves and as the algorithm involved, now machine learning is thinking about that, or rather the developers are thinking about how can we make such things that the machine can make a decision. Suppose it is standing on a crossroad and thinking, suppose I have to go left or I have to go right. In that case, if the machine is able to make this decision on its own, we'll say that the machine is learning. So that is the basic gist of what exactly your machine learning is. Now, machine learning in itself is a very big concept. AI is bigger. Machine learning is its tool is also a very big concept. It includes huge number of things inside it. And basically, if we'll start learning them, it will take around 1 year at least to get through all the machine learning. But just we have got 1.5 hours to do everything. So we'll be rushing through and getting some primitive knowledge that what exactly is all about. Okay, so let's move further. Just wait. I'm just wait. Just wait. Okay. Sorry. Sorry for the. Sorry, my connection is slightly broken down. Just wait. Okay. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Proceed. Yes, sir,
Okay.
you are audible. Proceed.
Okay. Sorry. So that is what we started. Okay, AI, and we discussed machine learning. Now, machine learning in itself, I told you, is a very big concept. It includes a lot of things. For example, suppose we are going to predict that what will be the market strategy tomorrow, and will the market will go up or a particular share will go up or down. So that can be done with the help of machine learning. suppose we are trying to predict whether some person has got some X-ray and wants to predict that, okay, let us check without any doctor's help. I want to check whether that particular person has some specific disease or some specific problem. I can do with the help of machine learning. Suppose we are going to predict that whether after 10 days there will be the weather will be rainy or the weather will be sunny. Can be done with the help of machine learning. So there are numerous number of applications where machine learning performs really good. But there are certain problems there where machine learning becomes a little bit, has a limitation to it. Means some of the problems that can be dealt with machine learning. And there comes another thing that is a part of machine learning only, but deals with a very specific kinds of problem. And those that is particularly known as deep learning. Now, I think I know that all of you have already have an idea or have heard these names of AI, machine learning, and deep learning, but there are some differences between all of the three. As I've already told you the difference between AI and machine learning. Now let me tell you the difference between machine learning and deep learning. So the most you can say the layman difference that can be there between machine learning and deep learning is that in machine learning, you have predefined algorithms to learn something. Okay, suppose you want to check, suppose you want to, let's take an example of, suppose you want to go somewhere. So you know that the distance around 100 kilometer, and you know that suppose you have to go at 60 kilometer per hour. So you can easily calculate what the time will be for covering that distance. But this is idealistic situation, okay? So in this idealistic situation, what we are thinking that, okay, our speed will be consistent, our speed won't decrease, there won't be any traffic, there won't be any toll plaza, there will be nothing. In that case, that is a simple mathematical problem. But when we are dealing in machine learning, we are dealing with a realistic problem that there may be a traffic, there may be other disturbances that might make your journey a little bit more, you can say it will take more time as compared to your mathematical formula. So how machine learning incorporates that? So what happens is, suppose that 100 kilometer is covered every day by you, or rather in every week you are covering that 100 kilometer distance. So in that case, what will you do? You will take back your experience that, okay, in certain days, suppose on Mondays or on Saturdays, the traffic is quite heavy. If you are going on that day, the time will be more. Suppose you are going in between the week, the traffic will be less, or some other factors might be counting on for you to reach the destination. So based on these previous experiences, you can add some more constant, some more variables to your mathematical formula, and you can get a more realistic time to where you want to reach. So, but in this case also, machine learning, the formula for calculating time will be distance upon speed only. Though some factors will be added to it, but this formula will never change. The formula will remain the same because it is a milestone formula that will always be used in these circumstances. But when we are talking about deep learning, there exists no formula. There exists nothing. It's just like your brain. Deep learning concept is totally related to how your brain functions, how your brain maps something, how your brain learns something, how your neurons in your brain tries to transfer the information among themselves. So that is the concept of deep learning. Deep learning says, forget everything, there is no formula. Let me look at the data. For example, the most basic example that you can say about deep learning is, suppose you met someone for the first time. So when you met that person for the first time, you try to learn that person's face. So you met him the first time, you learn a little bit about his face, but that person, suppose you didn't met that person for a week or for a month. Now again, that person walk past by you. There's a chance that you might not recognize him because your brain hasn't created an image of that person to be recollected that, okay, I know this person. So that is how brain works. It needs.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir.
Yeah.
So your first slide is only visible; it's not moving.
Okay. How is it possible? Let me check. Okay, there must be some delay, I think. Okay, let me check. Okay, now, sir?
Yes, sir.
Is it visible, sir?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, I don't know why it wasn't visible. Okay, let's start. So, so I was saying that in case of deep learning, it works similar to that of your brain. So what was I saying is, suppose you met someone and that person, you interacted with that person for around half a minute. So that time might not be that much that your brain can form a image of that person in you to be recollected again. So it might be a chance you might miss that person when you meet him again. But if you meet him 4 to 5 times, your brain will recollect that, okay, I knew this face. And even if he walk past by you at a very good speed also, then still you might be able to recognize that person. The same concept applies with deep learning also. So how your brain is learning? Your brain is learning because that information is being transferred by the neurons, and this information is collected and being transferred among all the neurons, and the image or the you can say an image is recollected or restored in your brain. And as soon as you see that person, there's a mapping going on at, okay, that I know that person. In a similar manner also, deep learning also had neurons, but these neurons are mathematical in nature. That means these neurons have some basic values that are attached to it that can be updated via some particular method. We'll see what methods those are, but still those neurons perform in a similar manner to that of your brain. They grasp the knowledge, they transfer it to next neuron, they grasp the knowledge, they transfer that information further, and so on and so forth. This information goes on in a circle and keeps on updating unless and until the point where deep learning says, okay, I have learned this thing. But the problem is deep learning can't have that much amount of neurons to be used as compared to our brain. For example, our brain can have billion number of neurons, but constructing billion number of neurons via a machine is right now not possible, because it will take a huge computational power to get that amount of neurons to be connected to each other and transfer the information. So for that, we use lesser number of neurons, but you can say the drawback is now that photo that you want to learn will take more amount of time to be learned. For example, now suppose you take 2 to 3 times to learn some face, deep learning might take 2 to 300 times to learn that face. Okay, so it will see that photo for 2 to 300 times, and then it can correctly detect that, okay, this person I know. So that is how deep learning is a part of machine learning, but a quite different thing, because here exists no formula. Everything is constructed based on the database provided. So in machine learning, you already have a formula that you tweak it based on the database. In deep learning, you have no formula. So in cases where the formula can't work, you cannot depend upon machine learning. You have to move to deep learning. So in cases of, suppose, all the image processing part, where the images can be quite complex in nature, machine learning has a drawback. It can only detect to a certain 1,000 number of images because it is still based on a formula. Deep learning, on the contrary, can deal with a huge number of database, and even if the image is complex, deep learning can learn from it and create an understanding so that it can detect something. So that is why machine learning is deep learning is a part of machine learning, but it works in a certain scenario only, not in all the scenario. Okay, I think I'm clear. Is it understood by everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any questions you might ask? I can entertain you if you have till now. Anyone? Okay, I think I'm dealing with the teachers, so everyone is quite good with it. So let's move further. So this balloon will always exist: AI, machine learning, and deep learning. There might be cases that deep learning is further divided into many other smaller parts, but we are not going to deal with it because of the time bound, and we are going to move a little bit further. So next thing that we are going to see is the word that we see so many times today, that is data science. Now, data science, as we know that students are also so much excited to hear that word. We also are so excited to hear that word because it is new. It is something that is prevalent right now, and it is got a huge buzz in all over the industry. Each and every company is working on it. Each and every firm, smaller or bigger, is hiring data scientists and other machine learning experts to do something. So what exactly data science is? So if we see, data science is exactly what it says. It is a science about data. It means how to manipulate a data for our convenience. For example, if we go to a store or if we go anywhere, there is a data science involved in all the purchasing you do. For example, if you're going to buy a bread also, there will be some data science involved, that something will be kept beside it to make you buy that thing also along with the bread. So there comes the data science. So it tries to predict the human behavior, that based on the data of previous purchasing, it can think that, okay, human being buy these things if they are kept together. And that is the basic need of all the major industries, that they want to sell something. How they are going to sell those things that are not even needed by the person. They are going to sell you those things also that you might not only need, or that you might not also need. Why? Because you see that, okay, this is something that I might need in future, and since the price is less, I should buy it. So that is all the thing that comes under data science. So data science in itself, if we give a very simple definition to it, it means manipulation of the data. But manipulating data is not that easy. That is why it becomes a science. So how we try to achieve the data science is with the help of machine learning and deep learning. So if I say data science, there are many other fields that are related to data science. Some say data analysts, some say data science, some say machine learning scientists. All are somewhat related to each other. But data science is something that will need machine learning and deep learning other than data analysis or other things, because there you might be able to get away with smaller things such as Excel and other database software which can easily get the data manipulated. But when it comes to data science, machine learning and deep learning are integral part of it. You can't escape machine learning and deep learning to learn data science. You have to go through machine learning and deep learning. So all in all, what happened further is data science became such a big part that machine learning and deep learning were picked up from AI and been incorporated in your data science. Okay. So I won't go in detail with data science because that is not a part of our today's learning. We will concentrate upon machine learning and deep learning. So let's move further. So what exactly machine learning is? So machine learning, as the name suggests, it is, as said, is learns from example and experience. Means suppose we human beings also do the same thing. We learn from experience. In a similar manner, machine learning also learns from experience. How? We provide it with a data that is already, sorted. Means we are giving data. Suppose we are telling that, okay, if a person has worked for 5 years, his salary should be this. If a person has worked for 10 years, his salary should be this. If a person has worked for 2 years, his salary should be this. So based on this experience, machine learning algorithm can find out, okay, tell me what will be the person's salary if it is working for 15 years and in this particular department. So in that cases, your machine learning will be easily able to predict what that particular salary be based on the previous experiences. So machine learning always learns from whatever existing knowledge is there available. If the existing knowledge is not available, then that machine learning becomes something else. We'll see what that particular thing is. But right now, machine learning's basic definition is what? It learns from experience. Whatever has been done and whatever has to be done. There's a bridge between them that we learn from whatever has been done, and we will try to predict what is to be done. Okay, so that is what machine learning is all about. So machine learning has many concepts involved in it. Let us move to them one by one. Okay, so what does machine learning say? Machine learning said what we lack in knowledge, we make up for in data. Why? Because we are learning from the data. Whatever the data is provided to us, we are trying to learn from that data, trying to predict something in the future. That has not happened till now. But for that, we will still be needing data if the knowledge is missing. If we already know something, then the data is not needed. But if we don't know, we try to grasp that knowledge from the existing data to predict something in the future. So that is what machine learning is. Machine learning is inferring knowledge from data. Means it is learning from the data and establishing a knowledge. Okay. Let's move further. So these are the 3 lines that sum up what exactly machine learning does. It uses the data to detect patterns in a data set and adjust program actions accordingly, and focuses on the development of computer programs. Now, in a nutshell, what it says that there exists a mathematical formula for everything, for calculation of every prediction, but there might be some factors that might be hurting it, or that might be manipulating it. You have to find those external factors and incorporate them in your mathematical formula that is already existing, and then try to predict something. So the first line says, from the data that is provided to you, You try to manipulate your mathematical formula that is already existing in nature, or that is already you have that formula. You are trying to manipulate it. For example, if you are saying that for example, we are taking example of distance only. So we say distance equals to speed into time, but there might be a thing, some other factors that are involved in it. In that case, okay, just wait. I think. Just wait, sir. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so this was your first point. Is the slide moving, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Slide number 6 is visible.
Okay. I'm getting a call from Anand sir. Is there any problem? I think. Anand sir, is there any problem with the slide?
No, sir. Actually, that time the slides are still at the page number 3 only.
Okay.
Now this is on 6. It is visible.
Okay. So it's moving correctly, na? You can see all these slides, na? Machine learning.
Yes, sir. Now this is moving.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay, let's move further. So the first, as I explained you, the first line, it's quite simple. In a nutshell, we can say we are trying to manipulate an existing mathematical formula. Next, this makes it teach itself to grow and change. Now the formula is you have adjusted the formula. Now the formula is ready. Based on that formula, you can refine that formula based on the new data that is provided to you. Means suppose 100 column data is provided to you. Based on that, you adjusted your formula. But another 100 columns came and it make few more tweaks to your existing formula, and this keeps on going. As soon as the new data comes, the existing formula tries to manipulate it or manipulate the existing the data tries to manipulate the existing formula, and you get a mean formula for the thing that suppose 1,000 columns were available for some data set. Now a mean formula has been established that it will work from all the 1,000 columns. So we have established that particular mean formula. So this is what exactly we try to do in the mean in your machine learning. We try to adjust our formula and get a mean new formula. Means that is applicable on all the columns possible, because the data keeps on evolving. You keep on getting new data and you have to make the changes, because if you are stubborn with the data, the prediction will be quite wrong. And that is why we need. And that is why the last line says it enables computers to find hidden insights using iterative algorithm. See, iterative algorithm is needed because if you are not using the iterative algorithms, your formula won't be updated. If possible, okay, there's a good thing I remember. Let me show you a thing that I am right now doing, and I can show you how iterative formula works. Just wait. I think I have that thing. Okay, let me share it with you. Okay. Just wait, sir. I think I have it. Okay. So, can you see this web page, everyone?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay. So this is currently I was working on a problem of ECG analysis. So I can show you what this iterative algorithm means. So if you can see here, this is iterativeness that we are getting. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to update a formula. First of all, I tell you this is not a machine learning, this is a deep learning. Since it is a part of machine learning, that is why it is also machine learning, but still it's a deep learning. So the first time, as you can see, that we have got an accuracy of 95%. We have updated our formula. But we got a new information from the data set. We updated our formula and got an accuracy of 96%. And we keep on doing this. We keep on doing it until and unless we reach 100%. But remember, we can never reach 100%. We can reach nearest to 100%. But if there's a huge amount of data, we can never reach 100%. We'll try to reach the nearest to it. So nearest I got is 99.81. That is, I think, a very good accuracy. So if I see the accuracy plot of our graph, we can see that we are going very close to 1, but not 1. But still, it's quite good because the data set that we are using is huge. I can show you there are 50 classes available. We have got huge number of images available. And based on this, with the iterative algorithm that we have got, we are achieving an accuracy of 99.88%. Can you, are you trying to get what exactly iterative algorithm means? This is the iterative algorithm. We try to keep on evolving based on the new data set provided to us. Okay. So that was just an example. Let me get back to our original slide. Okay. So this, we were talking about this particular these three lines. So these three lines will say the same thing. That in a nutshell, we can say that, okay, it sees that which particular mathematical formula is applicable on it. We take that mathematical formula, we tweak it, we tweak it all the time as soon as we are getting new data, and till we reach a consensus that, okay, no more updation can be done with the formula. And this is the current formula that can predict anything in the future. So this is what machine learning is all about. Okay. So before moving further, is there any questions? Are there any questions, sir? Okay, I think there are no questions. Okay, let's move further. So now we know that machine learning is used in so many areas. We have got Google Maps, we have got product recommendation, we have got self-driving cars. So if I'll say that the next slide that is coming is including all these three types of learning in different scenario. Google Maps, what does Google Maps tell us? Google Maps tell us that, okay, it will take this amount of time to reach there. But you also know that it takes into consideration the traffic, the other things, and then tell you the estimated time to reach somewhere. So that means it is using machine learning algorithm to provide you with the current time to reach somewhere. In a similar manner, you got product recommendation. That's why I told you that if you are going to buy something, there will be some recommendation that, okay, if you're buying this, you should buy this because this is available at 50% discount. So that is what product recommendation, that is also included in machine learning. I'll tell you how is it included. And the last is self-driving cars. You have learned it about that. You can see that Tesla model and other models that are self-driving. And you know, the machine learning is involved there also. But that machine learning is quite different from the other two. I'll explain how they are different. Let us move one by one. So let's first discuss the Google Map part one. Okay. So let's see what exactly machine learning steps are. So first machine learning step involves collecting data. That means suppose the current problem that I was showing you was of arrhythmia detection. Means we have got ECG of individuals and we are trying to detect whether that particular person has some kind of heart problem. And what exactly kind of a heart problem? There are around 26 different kinds of arrhythmia diseases related to cardiac problems. So we are trying to detect what exact problem is with the particular person. So that is what I was doing. So in this case, first I need data, because if I have data, I will have some knowledge that, okay, this person has this kind of disease and these are his symptoms. So based on these symptoms, this was his particular problem. So I've got previous experiences based on which I can predict something in the future. So first of all, for that, I need data. If there is no data, there will be quite difficult for me to predict something. Next, now that data might contain many jargons, many analogs, many things that are, you say, repetitive in nature, and some values that are not present. Then we'll try to wrangle it. Means we are performing data wrangling that will remove all these NaN values and values that are not needed, and all the other things that are present. We will be we'll be removing all those things that are not the part of our research. Next, we were trying to analyze that how the dependency is. Suppose the dependency is such that let's talk about distance, speed, and time only. So we know that if the time is constant and we increase the speed, the distance will also increase. That means there's a positive relation between the speed and the distance if the time is kept constant. Means if the speed is increased, the distance will increase. If the speed is decreased, the distance will also decrease if the time is constant. So in that case, I can analyze that thing based on the graph plotted, or we can say by data analysis, that if there is a positive regression or there's a negative regression between X and Y. Okay, so that is why we need to first plot the data. We need to analyze the data, that what is the dependency between each other and how the data is related to each other. Means how X is related to Y. Is it a positive regression or it is a negative regression? After that, we have analyzed the data. Now, there might be some columns that might not be participating in the prediction. So we can directly remove them because they are not impacting your result. You can remove all those columns because they might only add up to your calculations, but they won't help you in calculating something. So we are going to remove all those columns that are not part of your calculation so that our task might become easy and it will run fast. Okay, that is analyzing your data. Next, the training algorithm. As I've shown you in the previous chart of my work was, I was training them. I was training my algorithm on the data. So I was, let me show you once again what exactly I am saying. Just wait. Okay, so see, there are two things you can see in this example. Let me make it a little bigger. So you can see here, there's an accuracy and there is a validation accuracy. Now, what does this mean? This accuracy is calculated on the training data. Means we know that what the output is and we're trying to predict the output, and the machine is telling us, the output is telling us, okay, you are wrong. Try to update your algorithm. So again, the algorithm is updated. Now your accuracy becomes 93. So these accuracies are what? These accuracies are based on training algorithm. Means we know the output and we are trying to update our formula and try to get what machine is telling me. Suppose machine is telling me that, okay, this person has some disease, and my result is no, it doesn't have that disease. So I'm updating my formula to get to the same result. So this is that training accuracy. Test, and this validation is the testing accuracy. Means after I've updated my algorithm, now I am testing it on some unknown data, which I haven't seen till now, and trying to check whether my algorithm is only working good on the training data or also it's working good on the testing data. So that is the main thing I need from my machine algorithm, that it should train on the existing data and it should test on the unknown data, which that is not being shown to the machine. Okay, so this can be kind of an exam that students give in the class, that they practice on the examples in the, suppose they are trying to learn some differential equation. So they practice on some examples, and in the paper, they are not getting the same problem. They are getting a problem that is related to that problem, but not the same problem. So that might help student to learn more. In a similar manner here also, this accuracy is getting on an example for which we already know the solution. But this accuracy is for the problems that we don't know the solution to. We are trying to get the solution based on the learning we perform on the training data. I think that might have got a little bit confusing. Is it? Should I explain it again, or is it understood? I know it's a bit confusing. Anyone? So please, anyone? Hello? Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Actually, the participant will have the query in the last.
Okay. Actually, the queries in the last might be a little bit problem because the slide is around 80 to 85. So that something might be left in between and can't be recollected.
Yes, sir,
so
it may be.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, it may be.
So, okay, fine. I'll move again, just a little bit explanation again, that we learn on the training and we perform the testing. Means we learn on the data for which we already know the result. And after the training, we have updated our formula. Now we can apply that learning on the data that we have not seen till now and check whether our learning is good or not. Okay, so this means that India is playing in its homepage. They are very good at their homepage. Now they went to Australia. Now they want to check whether whatever they have learned in India is good or not. So they are playing in Australia and they are winning the match. So that means their learning was good, whatever they did in India. So that is what exactly we are doing here. Okay, let's get back to our slide. Okay, so let me start again. Okay. Okay, so we have trained the algorithm and finally we tested the algorithm. As I've shown you, we are testing the algorithm also based on the training we perform. And finally, what we are doing is deployment. After this is done, I can make a software and sell it to some company which can directly do what? Feed an ECG to the software, and it will tell me what kind of a disease the person has. So it becomes so simple that it can be run by anyone. So this is what exactly machine learning is doing right now. It is trying to evolve as soon as the data evolves. The new data comes, your algorithms are updated, your formulas are updated, and your learning becomes better. So this is what machine learning steps is all about. Now, let's come to the third part, that is what exactly machine learning is, or rather what are the parts of machine learning. Okay. So machine learning is divided into three parts. unsupervised learning, supervised learning, and reinforcement learning. I think you have already gone through these things in the previous lectures also. But let us see what exactly all these three things are. So basically, the biggest part is contained by the supervised learning. Basically, 80% or the 70% work of machine learning is part of supervised learning. Then comes unsupervised learning, and then comes reinforcement learning. That is the smallest part. Let us see what exactly supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning is. So supervised learning, as you can see, there are two parts, regression and classification. We'll get to it. And then we'll see what is unsupervised learning, clustering, all those things we'll see one by one. Okay, so let's come to the first thing, that is supervised learning. Now, what supervised learning says? Supervised learning says, the name itself says that it is supervised, means someone is supervising whether you are going in a correct direction or not. How this is done? This is done with the help of the training that we perform. So remember, training is only performed in supervised learning, because there we have the results that we are trying to achieve. Means, suppose I've told you that we know that for this particular X-ray image, this is the disease that person has. So I'm training the machine that, okay, learn from this existing X-rays that the answer for this one is this. So machine is learning, अच्छा मुझे ये X-ray मिला है तो इसको ये बीमारी है तो मैं pattern learn कर लेता हूँ. So this is what machine is doing. So in this case, supervised learning, there is supervision, because we already have the output. We are not trying to find the output. We are learning from the output to find the output of some unknown variable. Okay. So here supervised learning says, supervised learning is where you have input variable X and an output variable Y, and you are using an algorithm to learn the mapping function for the input to the output, that is Y equals to Fx. That means what? This means that you are trying to find this F. You are trying to find this mathematical formula, that is F, that will tell me that for a given value of X, what will be the value of Y. Okay, so suppose the value of, suppose some random value is given that at 2, Y is 3, at 4, the Y is 7, at 6, the Y is suppose 15. So machine will try to find this F, that what is the relation that is making Y change because of X. So if the machine is able to find this F, your supervised learning is done. That means based on the previous experiences, your machine has established that, okay, based on these three lines of columns that we have got of the values of between X and Y, I can now predict the fourth value of Y based on the fourth value of X. That is what supervised learning is all about. Trying to find out the function F based on some two variables in which one is dependent and other is independent. Here X is independent and Y is dependent upon what? X is the input and Y is the output. Okay. And what we are trying to do? We are trying to find this F. This is the basic definition for supervised learning. Supervised learning easily says that we already know the result. Please, machine, learn from this existing set of results. And now I am giving you some new data in which we don't know the result. And now try to incorporate that knowledge you have performed on this given unknown data. This is what supervised learning is. Okay, let's move further. So next comes unsupervised learning. Now, unsupervised learning is completely different from supervised learning. As the name suggests, unsupervised learning means there is no supervision. There exists no data to be trained on. पहले से कोई डेटा एग्जिस्ट नहीं कर रहा है जिस पे मशीन लर्न करके आगे आपकी हेल्प कर सके. इसको सिंपल एग्जांपल इस तरह देख लेते हैं. सपोज वी आर इन अ क्लास and we are trying to group two kinds of people. सब कुछ की हाइट कम है, कुछ की हाइट ज्यादा है, पर किसकी हाइट कितनी है वो हमें नहीं पता. तो क्योंकि हमारे पास प्रीवियस एक्सपीरियंस नहीं था कि सपोज 6 फीट कितना होता है, तो अभी हम लोग ने क्या किया, हमने एकदम बेसिक से स्टार्ट किया कि जो पहला स्टूडेंट क्लास में आ रहा है, हमने कहा भाई तुम उस कोने में खड़े हो जाओ बिकॉज आई डोंट नो व्हाट योर हाइट इज. So the next person comes. Now the next person, you saw that, okay, this person was this much high. I don't know what the exactly height is, but this person seems to be smaller than the existing person. So I said, okay, you stand in that corner. And as soon as many people are getting inside, based on this knowledge, I'm trying to create a cluster. We are getting two clusters of people with a smaller height and people with a, you said, comparable greater height. So you've got two kinds of cluster. So unsupervised learning tries always to form clusters of things because this doesn't have previous experiences. So we are always trying to create some clusters based on the data that is provided to us right now. We don't have previous experiences. The data is live to us. The data is unknown to us. We don't have a data that is prior to us, that is known to us. And we are trying to build a formula based on the unknown data only, not the known data. So that is what unsupervised learning is. So unsupervised learning is used in a completely different classification as compared to supervised. Supervised is used for prediction. Unsupervised is used for clustering. Now, how clustering is used, we will see in the next slide. But let us see what prediction and clustering differs. So prediction means based on the previous experience we learned, we are trying to predict something in future. Unsupervised learning says, based on the current thing that we are seeing in front of us, let us see what other things that can be added to the given cluster. As I've given the example of, let us see, let me show you unsupervised learning. Suppose you are going to a mall. Okay, so you want to buy something. So you've going to purchase something. So you saw that there are some bread is available, some cheese is available. So you've gone to purchase bread only. But you saw that, okay, butter or cheese is also available and it goes with the bread. So let us buy cheese also because it can be used with the bread. So that is the product recommendation, that the person who is buying bread might also buy something. So this you see all the day. आपको जितने भी ads दिखते हैं आपके website पे या आपके Google पे, these are all part of unsupervised learning. Suppose you search for a shirt on Google, the recommendation of pant and recommendation of belt and recommendation of other things will also be shown to you, because pant will always go with shirt, with belt and other things. So that is what unsupervised learning does. It forms a cluster. See what kind of a cluster? The pant will also always go with with shirt, or shirt will always go with jeans, and jeans will always go with shoes. So these will be put in a single cluster. So all the things that are in the same cluster will be kept together. Suppose you are going to a mall. So all those things that are related to each other will be kept together, so that if you are buying one thing, you are bound to buy the other. Okay. So that is what unsupervised learning does. So as you can see in the example, the bread, the cheese, and let us put the eggs with a special offer of 50% discount. So even if the person doesn't want to buy it, the person will buy because there is a discount on it. So this is how product recommendation works with the help of unsupervised learning, because previously we don't know that whether that particular person will buy these items, because we don't have a prior history about that person. But we know that bread goes with eggs, bread goes with butter, bread goes with cheese. So let us put them together. So that is what unsupervised learning is. We don't have prior experience. We try to learn from the current data that we are getting, and we're trying to evolve that cluster. We are making that cluster as big as possible so that we can make more number of sales as compared to the past. So this is what unsupervised learning is all about. Okay. So I think this was your unsupervised learning. So you have a completely different domain as compared to supervised learning. We have unsupervised learning. It deals with a separate kind of problem. Supervised learning deals with a completely different kind of problem. Okay. So, okay. So any questions till now? Anyone, please? Anyone? Okay. Let's move further then. So, okay, we have covered this. Let me see what else we can cover right now. Okay, let's move further. Let me open the slide again. Okay. So this was your unsupervised learning. Moving further, what we have is the reinforcement learning. Now, reinforcement learning, I've told you, we have got three types of machine learning algorithms. First was your supervised learning on your right. Next was unsupervised learning, and then comes the reinforcement learning. So as you can see, supervised learning contains two parts, classification and regression. We'll come to them. Similarly, unsupervised learning, we saw clustering. Dimensional reduction is also there, but we'll not talk about it because it is only a part of clustering. So we are basically discussing the cluster only. And then comes the reinforcement learning. Okay, so let us see what exactly reinforcement learning is. Reinforcement learning, as the name says, reinforce, means the most common example of reinforcement learning can be trying to learn to ride a bike. Suppose you saw a bike, you picked it up, and you saw someone riding a bike before, so you know that okay, we have to go through the pedal. Okay, so you ride on the bike, you started paddling, but you fall because you don't know how to maintain the balance. Then you try to maintain the balance, but you can't paddle, you fall again. So gradually you are trying to do what? You are trying to learn from the environment. You're trying to learn, you try to balance, you try to ride the bike, you try to paddle. And after certain falls and after certain time, it is a possibility that you might learn how to ride a bike without falling. So reinforcement learning deals with this thing only. So think about self-driving cars. Self-driving cars evolved in a similar manner in that of you are learning to ride a bike. The car crashed many times. And from every crash, it learns that, okay, I don't have to make this mistake. I don't have to make this mistake. Okay, so this is how your reinforcement learning works. All the game AIs right now, all the gaming community or the games that are developed have AI that are learning based on this reinforcement learning only. So let us see what reinforcement learning is all about. So in reinforcement learning, as you can see in front of you, there's an agent, there's an environment. So suppose you are trying to learn a bike. So you are what? You are an agent. What is environment? The what you can say, the bike, then the bicycle can be the environment. And what you are trying to do? You are trying to, this action will be what? To ride the bike. So agent, you are trying to perform an action that is riding a bike, and with what? The bicycle. The bicycle will be what? The environment. Now, after every attempt that you make, there will be two output. One is reward and one is state. Suppose you move to a distance of 5 meters. So what happened? You change the state. There's a change of state because from position 0, you move to position 1. So there is a change of state and you are getting a reward for it. So suppose you say that there's a dog. You're trying to make that dog learn to fetch a ball. So as the first time it does, you give him a sweet. You give that dog a chocolate. So that dog learns that if I perform good, I will get a reward for it. So in a similar manner, when you are learning a bike, if you are moving 1 meter in front, you are getting a reward. If you are falling down, then also you are getting a reward, but that reward is negative in nature. And you do not need negative reward. In a similar manner, when machine learn, machine always try to make a profit. It try to make a reward. So it will learn from the previous behavior that, okay, I did this, there was a negative reward provided to us. So let's not make that mistake again. So in gradually what it does, after making certain state changes, it will get more number of rewards. And if the rewards is continuously increasing, that means that the machine is going in the correct direction. If the reward is decreasing, that means the machine is going in a wrong direction and it should make some amendments. So based on this example, what it does is it keeps on adding the reward, it keeps on changing the state unless and until it gets the work done. So this is the basic you can say the gist behind reinforcement learning, that you learn and you are rewarded. Okay, so this is different from supervised learning because there is no one there who is teaching you to ride a bike. You are riding the bike by yourself, falling down, getting up again, falling down, getting up again, and finally you are able to learn to how to ride a bike. So this is not supervised because there is no supervision. Second, this is not unsupervised because each time you are doing what? You are gaining some experience, so it becomes a part of supervised learning. And that is why it's not an unsupervised learning. So you can say it's a mixture of both. Until unless it doesn't learn anything, it is unsupervised. And as soon as it learns something, you got experience, it becomes a supervised learning. So reinforcement learning can be an amalgamation of both the supervised learning and unsupervised learning. Okay, so to make it more interesting, let us take an example of reinforcement learning. Suppose a kid is trying to learn to walk. Now, this is a quite simple example that a kid is trying to learn how to walk. It's quite simple. But this can be movement for the first time. So how the kid is trying to walk? That kid is seeing his parent or her parent or anyone else that who is currently walking. So based on the experience he saw in front of himself or herself, he started walking. So what is the first thing the child will observe is to notice how you are walking. You use 2 legs, okay? take a step at the time in order to walk. Grasping this concept, the child tries to replicate you. Okay. But soon as he or she will understand that before walking, the child has to stand up. सबसे पहला काम क्या करना है? Has to stand up to walk. This is a challenge that comes along while trying to walk. So now the child attempts to get up, stagger, and slip, but still determined to try to walk. So there's another challenge to cope up, that when he learns to stand up, now he has to maintain his balance. Okay, so maintaining balance and walking are two completely different things. So he has to cope up with both. So falling down can be termed as a negative reward, and putting your first step in front and not falling down can be termed as reward. So if you're trying to teach that kid how to walk, you can do one thing. You can put a sweet in front of that person, that if you can come from there to there while walking, you can get this sweet. So based on that reward, the child will run faster as compared to without that reward. Okay, so this is what you are trying to achieve. So if I can show you what exactly this is, the reinforcement learning, if I'll see the previous example, you have agent, you have environment, you have action, and you have reward. So here we can see here, the problem statement is what? Walking. So the problem is what? Walking. The child is an agent. This agent is the child. The taking steps is an action. So you are this action. This means that taking step will be action. And let's say chocolate is the reward. So as soon the child walks the first step, there will be some reward provided to that person. So this can be the beautiful example so for how reinforcement learning can be incorporated with a child's walking. Okay, so I made the chart. You can see that child, surface, walking, chocolate, and couple of steps. These are all similar thing which we saw here. Okay, agent, environment, action, reward, and state. We have child, walking, chocolate, couple of steps, and surface. So you can see walking to the surface, couple of steps will be state, and chocolate will be reward. This is what your reinforcement learning is. And all the current machines and AI-based robots work in this particular manner only. They learn from the experience, they learn from the falling, they learn from the reward, and then the not that not make that again. This is how game AI works. This is how AI robots work. So this is the current most fascinating part of machine learning. Though it's a very bit small in nature, it contains only 10% part of whole machine learning. But this is the most interesting part that you can see about machine learning. That is reinforcement. Okay. So I think is it clear to everyone? Should I repeat it? Should I repeat something? Anyone?
No. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. So let's move further. So this was all the three that we discussed before. Let me come to that slide before where that slide. Okay, yeah. So we saw supervised learning, we saw reinforcement learning, we saw unsupervised learning, and you can see in reinforcement learning you have game AI, robot navigation, learning tasks, real-time decision. Because robot navigation, as I've told you, it will fall and learn and fall and learn. Game AI, all the AI bots that are added to the game have this tendency to learn from the environment. As the better the learning is, the better the AI opponent in your game will be. Okay, so this is also a part of reinforcement learning. Okay, let's move further. So the next thing that becomes in front of us is we have discussed before also, that is deep learning. So deep learning, as you can see here, all the 4 points are given. I have explained it before also. Let's just read it once. Deep learning is a subset of learning, machine learning. I've shown you. It is used in specifications of machine learning. I've shown you that not all the cases deep learning is required. Only the cases where machine learning has a limitation or performs not that good, deep learning comes into play. The core concept of machine learning is not applied here. I've told you there exists no mathematical formula. Everything that is developed by the machine, that algorithm itself, the new formula. Okay, and it requires a bigger data set to train compared to machine learning. I told you that deep learning is working in a similar manner. Where is it? Okay. So if you can see in the current example, these are the layers. You can see here, I've used a DenseNet model. These are the layers through which all the images are processing. So you can see it's a quite big, these layers that I've shown you right now, these are the layers through which it goes. And this is the output you can see here. There were 200 number of classes as we, in the current example, cat and dog, we had 2. Currently, I'm dealing suppose 200 number of classes. So finally, we have these 100 number of neuron, and in the starting, we have exact number of neuron to the size of your image. Okay, so let's come back to our example first. Okay, let's wait. Okay, where is it? Okay. So this was your example. So as you can see, input provided here, it can be equal to the number of images. It can be a little bit greater also. Doesn't matter. You can have 2 also. The hidden layer that are mostly responsible for the calculation or the learning of the machine. And finally, the output, whether the image belongs to a cat or a dog. Okay. So this is what deep learning is all about. I won't go into detail because that is right now not required. Okay. So let's move further. So as we saw before, let me start the slide. So as we go back, I'll show you that machine learning has supervised learning, and supervised learning has regression and classification. Now, what exactly this machine learning super classification and regression means? So regression means dependency of a dependent variable on an independent variable is known as regression. Okay, this regression will give you some value rather than a class. It will give you some value. Suppose you are trying to predict the cost of a certain share based on the prior experience. So that will be regression, because based on the prior experience, it might be increasing, it might be decreasing. So there will be a factor that will be deciding the value of y. So that will be part of regression. So it can be linear in nature, it can be non-linear in nature. So there are problems that we see in front of us that might be linear in nature, means it will continuously increasing or continuously decreasing. Okay, but there can be a problem that can form a parabola, or it can be a non-linear problem. It can be of order 2, order 3, or order 4. In that case, the machine learning turns from linear regression to non-linear regression. So we have 2 kinds of problems that we're dealing with supervised learning, that is linear regression and linear and non-linear regression, and logistic regression, or rather we call it a classification, that I've just shown you in an example. Okay, let's move further. So let's talk about linear regression. So linear regression, as the name says, it is linear in nature, means the dependency of x and y is linear in nature, means if x increases, y increases, or rather if x increases, y decreases, or if x decreases, y increases. But all the relation is that if one increases, other decreases. It is not the case that if one increases, the other decreases and then increases. That means it is linear in nature. Okay, so that is what linear regression means. So let us take an example. बहुत अच्छा example मैं आपको दिखाता हूँ linear regression को समझने का. Suppose you went to what you can say shop, या rather किसी restaurant में खाना खाने गए आप, ठीक है? So खाना खाने, you have your food, you paid the bill and you tip the waiter. So this tip, suppose take into consideration there is only a one variable, that is tip in nature. So what happens? You are trying to now predict कि उसको अगली tip कितने की मिलेगी. Suppose he got the tip of 5 first time, then 17, then 11, then 8, then 14, and then 5. So what happens is that if there is no other variable for you to predict the next tip, what will be the most appropriate solution to predict what the 7th tip might be? Anyone? Anyone, please? We do this all day. हम लोग ये काम हमेशा करते हैं. बहुत common सा चीज है कि we got 6 example in front of us and we trying to predict what will be the 7th value. So can anybody help me? Anyone? Okay. Yeah. Anyone? Okay. Okay. So what happens is, if none of the other things are available for us to help us in predicting the 7th value, what we will do, the 7th value will always be predicted as the mean of all the 6 values that are given to us. Okay. जैसे कि हम जानते हैं कि अगर हमें कभी predict करना होता, suppose India is playing a match and you know that previous 10 innings में उन्होंने इतना स्कोर किया from 240 to 280. So someone says let us bet कितना आज इंडिया स्कोर करेगी. So the safest bet will be what? You will try to find the mean. कि 10 मैच जो इंडिया ने खेले हैं उसमें जो भी उसका स्कोर है उसका मीन निकाल लो, वो सबसे बढ़िया प्रेडिक्शन अपना होगा. So linear regression begins with this particular formula of finding the mean. If none of the other helper data is available, the existing data will help us in predicting the new value. The seventh value will be what? I will take the mean of 5, 7, 11, 8, 14, and 5 and tell, okay, the seventh value might be this much. Okay, so let us move further. So as you can see here, let me open the slide again. So the tip is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are the, you can say this is y, and this is x. So seventh value will be what? The based on x. Okay, let's move further. So suppose this was the tip amount plotted in front of you, and we'll try to find the mean. So what will be it will be a line that is going between, or line passing through the closest of all the points that are provided to you. That will be known as the best fit line. It will be going past the mean of all the values that are provided to you. So the mean is 10, so your line is passing through 10. This will be your safest bet for the next step that the waiter will get if someone is coming to get the food. Okay, so this is the basis of linear regression. Next, suppose this 10 will be what? This is a predicted value. It might be a possibility that the value might be, the true value might be something else. So the value that we predicted and the actual value, the difference between them will be your error. So if I can see here, we will always try to minimize this error. If other factors are also involved, we will use them to incorporate and try to lessen this error of between the predicted value and the true value. Okay, so let's move further. So this is, as you can see here, the predicted, now we can see here the predicted value at 1 will be 10, 2 also will be 10, for every value will be 10. So as you can see here, if I create another chart of only predicted value, so all values will be 10 because the predicted value is, the mean is 10. Okay, let's go further. So what is exactly regression? Regression is what? Predictive modeling technique that is based on a value that is independent and the value that is dependent upon the independent variable. So here we can say that the dependent variable is y and the independent variable is x, and you are trying to predict what? F. You are trying to find y equals to fx, f, the function that is responsible for all the y that has been calculated based on the independent variable x. Okay, so let us take an example. So linear regression can be of two types. One is positive regression and other is negative regression. As I've told you, let us take an example of suppose x and y. So you can see here, with the increase in value of x, the y is also increasing. So it is a positive regression. Next, if the increase in value of x lead to suppose decrease, if the increase in value of y leads to or vice versa, you are increasing the value of x, but you can see a negative means this is increasing and this is decreasing. So as you can see, you are increasing in x, but the y is decreasing. Okay, first the y is suppose here, and as you move towards x, this came here. That means there's a negative regression. With the increase in value of x, the value of y is decreasing. Okay, so let us take an example of first, and we'll come to here. So let's take an example of speed and distance only. So I've told you, keeping the time constant, if we'll increase the speed, the distance will also increase. So there exists a positive relationship. Okay, and if we are treating it in the opposite direction, that keeping the distance constant, if we increase the speed, the time will decrease. So there exists a negative relationship, or rather a negative regression. Okay, so let's go back a few slides. I will tell you why I'm doing this. So suppose this was your original value and this was your observation. So this will be what? The error that is there. So what we try to do is suppose we have x and y and we have plotted a graph. The best bet will be what? You are trying to draw a best fit line that passes nearest to all the points available, so that if you want to predict some value here that doesn't exist, you can just find that value on this particular line. That is your best fit line. And since it is a line, you are going to deal with the equation of a line, that is y equals to mx plus c. So all in all, in linear regression, we are trying to find y equals to mx plus c, in which two values are unknown to us, that is m and c. M stands for the slope, that where this point will hit, what will the angle of this line, and c, there where this line will be you can say interacting with the y-axis. So this is our final goal, that we have to find this y equals to mx plus c. Okay, so we know that if there is a positive regression, the m will be positive, and if there is a negative regression, this m will be what? Negative. Okay, so basically we are dealing with this y equals to mx plus c, where we know x and y, we are trying to find m and c. Okay, based on this we can predict some value. I will try to you can say perform an example to show you these things. Let's take an example. Suppose you have these values, x equals to 1 2 3 4 5 and y equals to 3 5 3 4 2 4 5. So suppose there is next value 6. You are trying to predict what will the value of y. So in this case, what will you do? You will try to get the mean of x. You will try to get the mean of y, and you will see where they meet. And the point where they meet, you will draw a line, and this line will act as a best fit line for the prediction of the 6th point. Okay, let's start. So let us plot this point. So as you can see, these points are plotted. As you can see, for 1, this is 3. So here for 1, this is 3. For 2, this is 4. For 3, this is 2, and so on and so forth. So this line might pass through here somewhere. Okay, this line might pass through here somewhere. So that will be closest to each of the existing points. But we cannot do this. We will try to do this with the help of finding the mean. So let us find the mean of y. Let us find the mean of x. So mean of x we calculated as 3, and mean of y we calculated as 18 by 5. That comes out to be 3.6. So 3, we drew a line here. And for 3.6, we drew a line here. You see, they are meeting here. That means the best fit line, that will be our prediction line, will pass through this point. It can have certain angle. It will interact with the y-axis somewhere. I don't know where, but we will try to find the slope that will help us in mitigating the prediction error. Okay, so let us move further. So for that, suppose we are drawing a line. So we can draw as many number of lines that are passing through this point, but the line with the minimum error will be our solution. So suppose this line is passing through here, one line is passing through here, one line is passing through here. We will find that line that is having the minimalistic or negating the error that is existing. Okay, so let us see how we are going to do this. So finding that line's slope is our main aim, that is m. We are trying to find that m. So we know that there is a formula for m. Suppose this is the line that is passing. That is, we are just predicting that suppose ये line हो सकती है जो पास कर रही हो, पर ऐसे हम श्योर नहीं हो सकते हैं, तो हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा? हमें मीन निकालना पड़ेगा. So for mean, we have formula that sigma x minus x bar into y minus y bar divided by sigma x minus x bar का whole square. This will give us, this is the formula हम लोग बचपन से पढ़ते आ रहे हैं, वही formula यहाँ पे use होगा, that is m. So when we are using m, इस हमारे पास क्या क्या अवेलेबल है? हमारे पास मीन है, हमारे पास इसका भी मीन है, हमारे पास एग्जिस्टिंग एक्स की वैल्यूज भी हैं. तो बड़े आराम से हम इस एम को निकाल सकते हैं. तो चलिए कैसे? तो हमने क्या किया? एक्स माइनस एक्स बार निकाला, ठीक है. फिर वाई माइनस वाई बार निकाला, फिर हमने एक्स माइनस एक्स बार का होल स्क्वायर निकाला, ठीक है. सो वी हैव -2 -1 0 1 and 2. ओके, एंड इन द सिमिलर मैनर हमने हर वैल्यू को निकाला, x into x bar into minus y बार निकाला और फिर उसका सिग्मा ले लिया. तो हमारा कुछ रिजल्ट इस तरह का आया कि सिग्मा x माइनस x का 10 आया और इसका 4 आया, यानी 4 डिवाइडेड बाय 10. तो हमारी स्लोप जो आई वो आई 0.4 की, ठीक है. हमारी स्लोप जो आ रही है वो 0.4 की आ रही है. अब नेक्स्ट चीज हमें फाइंड करना है y इक्वल्स टू mx प्लस c में, दैट इज c, ठीक है. तो आफ्टर फाइंडिंग m वी आर ट्राइंग टू फाइंड c. सो वी हैव अ फार्मूला नाउ, y इक्वल्स टू 0.4x प्लस 2.4. कैसे? अभी हम इसको एक एक करके देखते हैं कैसे निकलेगा ये. तो अब इसको कैसे निकालेंगे, देखिए. लेट मी हेल्प यू. सपोज मेरे पास यहाँ पे एक फॉर्मूला ले लेते हैं पहले. एक मिनट में जरा नोटपैड खोल लेता हूँ ताकि आपको थोड़ा इजीली इसको दिखा सकूं. जस्ट वेट, आई थिंक टाइम इज अ लिटिल बिट शॉर्ट. चलो तभी करते हैं, कोशिश करते हैं. चलो, सो व्हाट वी हैव नाउ, वी हैव y इक्वल्स टू mx plus c, where we know this. Now we know what? We know m, we know x, we know y. We don't know what c. So what we will do, for based on this y, हमारे पास y की वैल्यू अवेलेबल है, हमारे पास m भी है, हमारे पास x भी है, तो हम बड़े आसानी से c निकाल सकते हैं. ये y और x क्या है? जो ओरिजिनल वैल्यू हमें प्रोवाइडेड है. जिसके बेसिस पे हम क्या निकाल लेंगे, सी निकाल लेंगे। यानी हमारा इंटरसेक्ट जो है, जो वाई एक्सिस पे हो रहा है, वो कहाँ हो रहा है, वो हम इस फॉर्मूले से बड़ी इजीली निकाल सकते हैं। तो वही चीज हमने यहाँ पे यूज की है एग्जिस्टिंग फॉर्मूला में। एक मिनट वापस आ जाते हैं स्लाइड पे। ओके, सो जो हमारे C2.4 आ रहा है वो इसी तरह आ रहा है कि हमें y मालूम है, हमें x मालूम है, हमें 0.4 मालूम है, तो बड़े आसानी से हमने 2.4 निकाल लिया। अब जब हमारा फॉर्मूला रेडी हो गया है, जिसमें हमें m भी मालूम है, हमें c भी मालूम है, तो अगर हम इसमें 6 को फीड करें, यहाँ पे वैल्यू 6 दें, तो हमें बड़े आराम से y पता चल जाएगा। यानी अगर हम यहाँ पे 6 वैल्यू निकालना चाहें x की, तो अगर इस फॉर्मूले में हम पुट अप कर दें कि यहाँ पे x = 6, तो बड़े आराम से हमारा y प्रेडिक्टेड आ जाएगा। तो बेसिकली हमें करना क्या है लीनियर रिग्रेशन में, हमें ये बेस्ट फिट लाइन फाइंड करनी होती है, ठीक है, जिसमें हमें स्लोप और y इंटरसेप्ट अगर पता चल जाए, तो बड़े आसानी से हम किसी अननोन वेरिएबल x के 6th वैल्यू के लिए हम y को बड़े आसानी से निकाल सकते हैं। तो वही हमने आगे किया भी है। इफ आई मूव अहेड इन द स्लाइड, ओके, स्लाइड इज विजिबल टू एवरीवन? हेलो हेलो Hello. Is the connection over? Sorry. Okay. Thank you. So let's come back. So, okay. So we got this y, and based on this y, we can predict all our values for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, so on and so forth. We can predict all the values based on this single line. Since the line is linear in nature, we don't have to worry that much. But when this slide changes, for example, the value of x and y doesn't respond in a monotonous manner of increasing or decreasing, then comes the role of, you can say, non-linear regression. So if I can show you with the help of a slide that how that non-linear regression looks like. Just wait. So let me show you. So this you can see here, this is a normal example. So you have x, you have y. In this case of x and y, जब x and y बड़े simple थे, monotonous थे, we drew this line of best fit, which is used for prediction. But when this x and y are of this nature, देखिए ये nature जो है, अब इस केस में अगर मैं best fit line draw करता हूं, तो उस पे जो prediction आएगा वो बहुत खराब आएगा। इसलिए क्योंकि जो अब डिपेंडेंसी है x और y के बीच में, वो नॉन लीनियर हो चुकी है। तो इस केस में आपका लीनियर रिग्रेशन काम नहीं करेगा। इस केस में आपको नॉन लीनियर रिग्रेशन यूज करना पड़ेगा। तो अगर हम देखें, तो हम देखिए स्ट्रेट लाइन ड्रॉ करते हैं जो किसी पॉइंट के कहीं भी नियरेस्ट नहीं है, पर अगर हम इस पे नॉन लीनियर रिग्रेशन के थ्रू एक कर्व ड्रॉ करने की कोशिश करें, तो ज्यादा करीब पहुंच सकते हैं प्रेडिक्शन पॉइंट के। लेट मी शो यू। सो आई यूज्ड पॉलिनोमियल रिग्रेशन एंड सी आई ड्रॉ अ, you can say, a curve that is passing almost nearest to all the points available. So this is what we are trying to do, is we are first trying to analyze the data to check whether the dependency is linear in nature or non-linear in nature. So in that slide of you can say steps of machine learning, the third step was analysis of the data. So based on the plot, we can easily find out whether we have to apply linear regression or we have to apply non-linear regression. Okay, so this is our work of based on regression. So you can see here that एक मिनट मैं आपको दिखाता हूँ, एक चीज और दिखाना चाहूंगा अगर टाइम होगा। See, just wait. Okay, so let us take an example. So you can see here the example, हमने वही काम किया है। हमारे पास x और y का डेटा था जो हमने एक PDF से लिया था। If I can show you the PDF also. Just wait, beta. Oh, sorry. Head brain. Okay, I got it. Okay, let me share it with you. Okay. So suppose this is the your values that are provided to you. You have to predict the value. So you have a head size and brain weight. Means you have head size of the head. Is anyone something? Okay, sorry. Okay, so we have brain weight, head size, and brain weight. So based on head size, there is this column of brain weight. So if I provide a random value कि चलो इस पे बताओ कि brain weight कितना होगा, so we can predict with the help of this current formula. Okay, so this is also linear regression because we know that head size बड़ा होगा तो brain weight भी ज्यादा होगा। तो हमें पता है ये पॉजिटिव रिग्रेशन यहाँ पे एग्जिस्ट करने की चांसेस है। ठीक है, तो इस पे हमने क्या किया, हमने वही linear regression लगाया, एक मिनट, let me show you. Okay. So you can see here that we have X, we have Y, we calculated mean of X, we calculated mean of Y, and then we calculated C and M. Based on this, what we did, we drew a best fit line that tried to pass through all the existing weights that are available to you. Okay. And this line might be the best response or for the prediction for any unknown value of X, the value of Y. Okay. But since you can see here that this is a quite tiresome task. For each time you are calculating mean, you are calculating Y and all those things. So what machine learning does, it provides you with many, you can say, or existing pre-built machine learning algorithms that you can directly use without, so you don't have to calculate all those things. So this is the same thing that I did here. You can see here, let me show you that we have libraries such as linregress, or rather you can use linear regression, that will help in directly just writing linear regression and providing it with the X and Y. It will directly calculate this line. You don't have to calculate mean and all those things. It can directly do that. So machine learning algorithms right now exist that makes our life so easy that we just provide it with the X and Y and the line will be drawn itself, or the curve will be drawn itself. So this is the power of machine learning that you can see in front of you. You can see here we have poly 1D. That is also a polynomial regression formula algorithm that is already existing. We can directly use it just providing it with the X and Y values. It will calculate it by itself. So this is how strong your machine learning is. You can predict the values, you can forecast the things, you can cluster the things, you can move, make a car move by itself, you can do many things with machine learning. And that is why it is such a big thing right now in the current industry. And most number, as I tell my students also, maximum number of jobs in IT industry are now going to data science and machine learning only, not web development. Web development is almost over. The next big thing in this industry is machine learning and data science. And that is what we are trying to learn every day. Okay. So that will be all with my slides. I think this is, I think that was quite tiring also for you all, and long also. So I hope I might have make you understand a little bit about machine learning, though not much because the time is very limited, but I hope it. Okay, thank you so much. And I move the mic to Anurag sir. Anurag sir? Hello? Anand sir? Is anyone available?